the truant officer, some guy, came to let me know that Patty had been suspended from school. And Carmen was here already, and Carmen says, well, wait a minute, you know, no, not Patty, me, I was suspended from school. And he said, no, Patricia Figueroa has been suspended from school too. And I thought, Patty? Not Patricia. I thought to myself right away, you know, because she was an A student, she was an outstanding girl. She was very intelligent, you know, and very reasonable. When they told me about Carmen, yeah, I understood, because Carmen was a little bit more like, I'm not going to let you do that to me, you know. Gave me a ride to the high school, and I went with him, and when I got off, went to the principal's office. When I walked into his office, he was paled, because before we got there, the officer called him and told Mr. Trout that I was on the way over. Right away, things like went through my mind, you know, like why would is he that scared? Why is he, you know? So I walked in and he just looked at me like real puzzled, and I said, Mrs. Figueroa, I'm here to talk about Patty, you know, what happened? And he said, oh, well, I gotta tell you that Patty has changed a lot.
They turned on the lights and pulled the projector cord and told everyone to leave the room. In a boisterous manner, they sort of yelled it out, you know, everyone leave the room. Then one of the school officials turned to me, since I was the president, I was the one that was in charge of the meeting. He turned to me and grabbed me by the arm and got a chokehold on my neck and just threw me out the door.
Like Patricia Figueroa was saying, the president of the Mecha, it was true whatever his name is, that guy, when he got Patricia Figueroa from the arm and from the neck, and we were really astonished and shocked the way she grabbed her from the arm and from the neck and just threw her out. And me, myself, I don't think he would do that to any other person except us Chicanos.
And that's when I thought, oh my God. Of course, he started saying that Patty had made a big old scandal, and she told, and the kids wanted to leave the room, and that Patty had stood at the door and said, "Don't leave, stay here. You're not going anywhere." And Patty said, turned around and told him, "You're lying, Mr. Trout. You're lying." She started getting excited, you know, and the superintendent said, "Well, maybe, you know, a girl at 14 years could be lying." I said, "No, not my daughter. No, I know her better than that. I mean, if you're going to believe your principal, I'm going to believe my daughter." I said, "So I guess we've got nothing else to talk about." So I just got up, you know, and I said, I have no business here talking to you. I said, "So we'll just see you in court." And he said, "What?" He said, "Mr. Figueroa," he followed me outside, because by that time I was already walking out. "You don't have to go that far." And I said, "Yes, we do." She said, "And what else did he tell you?" I said, "Well, that you ran out of there and you were screaming and yelling." And he said, "He didn't tell you what he did to me?" And I said, "No, what did he do?" And she said, he ordered me to out of that, turn on the lights, called me to a house, and told me to get out of there. And when I told him I was going to wrap the video camera that I had there, And he said, no, you're going to be there right now. I said, now. He said, grabbed her from the neck, him from the arm, and threw her out the door.
Do you think that our children should continue to go to public schools and continue with the abuses that they had? Or what is your point of view on respect to public education?
We know that public education has not met has not been able to deal with the aspirations of the minority group person, or in our case, our kids who are involved in a struggle, for social betterment.
The Mexican people have suffered from an education in the United States that has denied essentially their dignity, their personality, and their identity.
And we know from your own experience in Blythe, from the experience of how your kids and the kids of other people in the union were thrown out of school, were really harassed, to the point that they had to go on strike. They struck against the school and then they were thrown out. And how, as a result of that, to find an alternative to that, how they went, with your help and all the parents there in Blythe, organized La Escuela La Raza Unida.
Because the education that is given to people in this country reflects the place that those people are allotted or are allocated within the system itself, the Mexican has been allocated a role of being a worker, a low-paid worker, a worker without rights, and in many instances, the worker that has the worst paid and worst stable or unstable jobs in the whole economy.
The directors of the schools and the people who run the institutions want everybody to think the same way, and it's impossible. We have different likes and dislikes with different ideals, different motivations, and so that I'm convinced more and more that the whole question of public education is more and more not meeting the needs of the people, and particularly in the case of minority group people, particularly in the case of like the farm worker kids who learn to struggle from their parents, and then they are made victims because of their beliefs,
I was nervous. I was very upset because when I saw all those kids there, and then I saw the police officers, and I saw the bunch of the sheriff there, the police and everything, city police, and I thought, oh my God, I said, what's going to happen? And nobody was here. Booker wasn't here. He was running a marathon somewhere out there in El Centro. Alfred wasn't here. He was in LA with Cesar Chavez, and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Although it's legal and it's non-violent, they're still made the victims because the school administrator happens to be either a grower, or he happens to be related to a grower, or happens to be afraid of the growers.
But the phone started ringing. Oh my God, tell all kinds of things. They were men. They were all men. They started calling me, threatening over the phone, and they're telling me that they were going to kill those kids out there, those rattlesnakes with their headbands on their heads, and all. I was just going to kill them off, all and all that, and I would just hang up on them. I went over to keep an eye on them, and by then they were already getting hostile. And when I saw the teachers, the way that they were treating my kids, they were treating all the kids, like telling them, go back to Mexico, you damn dirty Mexicans, and the teachers were taking pictures of them, teachers that I respected a lot, that I thought that they're going to do, help us out, or they're not that type, they're very kind. Oh, are you kidding? When I saw them telling all my kids, and all the kids there, go back to Mexico, I lost respect for them. And I told Alfred, you know what? I'm going to take my kids out of school. They're not going back to the public school. They're not worth it. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, but I'm going to go, if I have to go wash toilets or whatever, I said, I'm going to get money and I'm going to go hire a tutor to come and teach my kids here at the house. They are not going back to the public school.
Like I said, it had been building up prior because of the lack of the bilingual materials, the lack of Chicano teachers in school, the assemblies that we used to want to have, like the Cinco de Mayo, 16th of September.
What broke the camel's back was what Mr. Truck did to Patty, because we had always been having problems with the teachers, because Alfred was involved in United Farm Workers, the girls were involved, and they had their little buttons, and they come home crying. My chicken was crying. My teacher took my button away. She said that we were not to use any buttons from the farm workers and all that. So here I go to the school. What the heck's going on? What are you doing? Why are you treating my daughter like this? And well, because they have, it says the word hell on that button, and boy, cut the hell out of it. And I thought, what the heck, you know? I said, you got to be kidding. I said, the word hell is written in the Bible I don't know how many times. When this happened, I said, no, this is it. This is what broke the camel's back. I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. And I'm not going to put up with it. So from there on, then we started the demonstration against the schools, and day after day after day, finally we got the escuela going. That's where we had under the trees at the park. That's where it all started.
So that schools like La Escuela Raza Unida in Blythe, it seems to me, you know, have a real place and a real role to play.
Then we started meeting across the street at Mrs. Garnica's house, and that's where we're serving the food at lunchtime, because you know they go on that picketing and all that without eating.
I think that gradually we're going to see an awful lot of alternative schools to public education.
And it went on and on. The kids wouldn't give up. The kids were asking for, we want our school. And that was their chant. We want our school. We want our school. We want our school. They were chanting out, so they want their school. What are we going to do, you know? I had my intentions were not to have a school. My intentions were to tutor my kids here at the house. But he said, well, let's try it, you know, who knows? That's when we decided to get that, find a building so we could start our school. We were lucky to have a lot of people coming in when they heard about the school. And among other things, you know, that happened was when they killed Mario right up the street here. Mario was one of the Barreras family, well-known family here. He was involved in drugs also. But one of the officers was involved in the drugs too. And they knew, and this Mike knew about it, you know. And when that happened...
What happened?
When they killed him, he was running, they were drinking at the river. And so when something happened out there at the river, I know he was coming in his car, Barreras was, and he was driving his car over here. And the officer was following him in his pickup. He was off duty at the time, following him in his pickup, and Mario drove in. He was racing right downtown, you know, and he came over here, tried to make a turn right here at the park, and there was no sidewalk, no nothing. They were barely building all that. So he tried to make come down Carlton, and he made such a wide turn that he went into the sand and he got stuck. And of course he had been drinking, you know, all of them there, so he got knocked out right there on the wheel. And when the officer comes, he parks across the street in front of a house and gets off, goes to the truck, to the car, to Mario's car, puts the gun in his brains and blows him out. So the ones that saw that, oh, that was Carmen, because he was driving with Juan Ulloa. He was driving a motorcycle, had Carmen in the back. They came, and Carmen got off and went to the window, and Mario was right there with all his brains blown out. Carmen does not remember anything else from there on. We ended up at the police department 4 days, and 3 days or 4 nights, and we camped there with all the women, babies, children. We all stayed there because we wanted him arrested. And
so this was connecting to the student walkout because everybody was kind of organized and feeling.
Yeah, like and the officer was one of the guys over there at you know, guarding the kids at the school, that nothing happened to them. But he was one of the ones that, and he ends up over here killing the poor guy. And there was a teacher that used to live over there at Mike's house too, and he went, and he had a camera. He ran up the street and took a picture of inside the police officer's truck pickup, and there were beer cans in there and all that. So he knew, we had proof that he had been drinking also, you know. And he took a picture of Mario. That's why we have Mario's pictures all like that, you know, the ones that you showed us on the video. That's why we have, because he had his camera. So there's a very interesting little piece of paper there. And Mario's not here though. Yeah, this is Mario. That's Mario right there, but we don't have him in the car where he's all blown up. We have him in the video that you got. I think you have a video of that, but that's him. And this is when they were in front of the jail right there. The police officers, and this is at the meeting, the big meeting we had at the school district.
So that therefore the education imparted to the Mexican people in this country reflects this role assigned to them. Mexican people, Mexican children, Spanish-speaking children, have not been educated in this country. By that we mean that they have suffered at the hands of the educational institutions.
The experiment is working in Blythe, and we can work in Blythe, I'm sure it can work in almost any place. And it's been proven not only that it can work, but the important thing is proven that it's needed, see?
Well, right here we're what we call the high school of the Escuela Raza Unida, which you can see what we teach here. These images we're beginning here on the right-hand side is Cesar Chavez. The next is what we call the image of Quetzalcoatl. And right at the base here, we have how the Escuela Raza Unida all started. With these walkouts that we had, I say we because it was the majority of all my children, 9 children were all involved.
So if you were doing well in school, this would be an incentive to come onto the radio station and get the experience of being a DJ. I talk to a lot of teenagers because of my job. So I talk to a lot of teenagers, and I'm always asking questions regarding what they like to listen to. So I'm always doing research. Yes, we do play their music, but we are very careful with the lyrics. But we learned very early on that you must play their music in order for them to tune in.
We're actually teaching kids our 3rd generation already. The way that my thinking was, the way my daughter's thinking was when she graduated, and the way my grandson's thinking was when he graduated, it's all different. So we had to be willing to change.